A very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to uLaw CPD webinar. Topic for today's session is Law Office Matter Management. This session is entitled for 1 hour of professionals in CPD credits, and I'll be sharing the attendance link along with the topic details towards the end of the webinar. I request everyone to hang in tight for your questions that can be answered towards the end of the webinar as well. And also, we will be sharing a small poll towards the end of the webinar today to discuss annual report filing questions. So we're planning to do a live Q&A sometime next week. So we want to run a small poll to see what could be most liked time by all of you who are regular attendees of our webinar. Anybody, you could bring your friends, you could bring people who could benefit out of that particular webinar, because it's about, one, it's a live Q&A session, and two, it's about Law Society annual report filing. So plenty of questions I'm sure you all will have. So I thought I would dedicate an hour towards that. It will be happening on our Instagram platform since it's a live webinar. And I will be sharing the details over the chat window. But before that, please hang in tight till I share all of these links and details towards the end of the webinar. Thank you so much. And once again, welcome everyone for your Friday CPD with uLawPractice Management. And the topic for today's session is Law Office Matter Management. Like we've always discussed agendas in our previous webinars, we have a nice agenda, a little elaborate, but there's a life cycle that we're going to discuss today about matter management, mainly focusing on the workflow and matter creation, details, docketing, invoicing, collecting retainers. How do you progress within the matter, at the same time updating the finances or accounting aspect of your matter, and fulfilling the Law Society compliances when a matter is created or when a file is created. And all those associated with fee books, invoicing, trust transfers, Form 9As, retainers, receipts, engagement letters, non-engagement letters, end-to-end. So we're going to see a whole life cycle and the status of it when you start off with the client intake matter management. Matter management, yes, is our topic today, but let's see a little bit of basics to that. When is a matter created? Only after an intake is done. So let's quickly see what client intake consists of. So client intake is very straightforward. You choose your method of client intake. You choose between a manual method, client portal, virtual method, a method that in probably something that has a link that you share with your client on an email, or you put it on your website, they reach out to you through there. Whichever is the method of client intake that you would like to follow, please make sure to establish that at the very beginning and communicate it with the client so that they are aware of their requirements or their obligations to be met once you shared the basic information. While you also record these details, parallelly working on Law Society compliances right from the very beginning of intaking a client, which is conflict checks, determining whether you plan to connect a retainer and then sharing a retainer agreement with them, determining the amount, sharing a receipt upon collecting that amount into the retainer, into the trust account. Or if you are not holding a trust account, or if you do not plan to use your trust account for this very particular client, are you planning to send them out an invoice once the work is done and collect the payment into the general? Any which ways, all of these to be mentioned at the time of engagement, where you would be laying down all of these points as to their requirements or your expectations, everything in a nutshell entered under engagement letter or a retainer letter. Likewise, when you don't continue with a contract with a client, somebody ghosted on you or did not come back to you after signing an engagement letter, please make sure a non-engagement letter is issued to this particular client. A non-engagement letter providing all of these details to the client, making sure that, that the client or rather the prospective client who reached out to you did not come back to you and there is no more engagement with them. So making sure communication on the other hand of non-engagement of services is equally important as much as the engagement of services are, or rather engagement letter or a retainer letter does. Once the client intake service communication starts to take place, you could move on to the next phase of servicing your client, which is matter management, which is the core topic of today's session. Managing the matter is like a life cycle for a matter where you would start off with collecting the details as to conflict screening, ID verification, any joint retainers, the parties to the file, everything organized well, and they're getting a retainer letter signed and entering into the very, matter level, where under the matter you have entered all the organization details of the client. And also every call or every communication that you have with the client, you're entering the information as dockets. So you have your meeting dockets, your phone dockets, you have a file number, you have file number is unique, you follow the Law Society regulations for that, an alphanumeric unique file number, right? And once the file has been created, you add in all the dockets, the disbursements, retainers, and then you raise an invoice. So when you raise an invoice, there is an AR or accounts receivable. If there is money lying in the trust account, you can move the money from trust to the general. If the money is not available in the trust account, then you share the invoice with the client and ask them to pay it into your general account so that the AR gets addressed and you're able to keep up with the matter status. At the same time, you're able to achieve the harmonious workflow or the life cycle of a matter management. While the matter is being created, there are a few steps that we recommend you to follow. Number one being file checklist. Please make sure for every file or every matter that gets opened into your account, you have a file checklist and you make sure to collect all the documents that needs to go in there, which, for example, could be, like I said, client ID verification, conflict screening, a simple retainer letter, settlement statements as you progress into the matter. So there are different divisions in which you would be providing them as in servicing your clients with respective documents. So when you have a file checklist, you can go over it and make sure all of it has been entered in respectively. Confirmation of conflict check also needs to be done while making sure that there are no other conflicts, and then you open the file. As you open the file, let's say, for example, the same client is coming in for two matters. You have two separate files open. Maybe they would come in for a real estate closing, which has both sale and purchase. So you should be maintaining two different files. So ensuring that even though it's the same client, maintaining separate files for each and every respective matter is important, alongside with a chronological and secured organization of electronic files, where, in uLaw, we have document management powered with Google and OneDrive. So today, everything is on cloud. Everything is accessible electronically, especially post-COVID, where, there could be times where you are not able to access physical files. It's okay to maintain physical files, but it's also important to maintain electronic files. And chronologically organizing them and securely maintaining these electronic files is really important. So you have to make sure that you have backups, you have maybe two-factor authentication, and you are also having those unique file numbers, whatnot, everything that you need to make sure the file management is intact. While you also have some personal client interactions, rather personal recordings of client interactions, you might want to put it under your, scratch pad, or you might want to keep it under your client notes. But please make sure to record them, as these would come handy for you when you're progressing with the file. And ensuring that all of these are updated in the file directly will really help you to take it to the next level, especially when you're about to invoice the client. You can quickly refer to it and say that, okay, I have to make the payment to the client. So what was my last invoice? So in uLaw, it's continuous billing. So when you generate or reprint the invoice from last time, it will tell you what was done. And if you run a pre-bill for this time, it'll again tell you what was the summary of the previous invoices. So you kind of have an idea as to your invoicing information from the previous time or the current time, and that would help you to organize your details well for the particular file. While you're working on that, one of the important agreements that you have for a matter management, for a good or a better matter management, that lays like an emphasis to all of the communication that you have with the client, right from the beginning to the end, is a retainer agreement or an engagement letter. So ensuring that this covers all the enough details that you would need to keep yourself going for servicing this client from the beginning to the end. That includes client responsibilities, your responsibilities, what is your preferred method of scheduling any course of representation, what is your preferred method of communication with the client, retainer arrangements, are they giving you retainer at the very beginning, or are they giving you a lump sum amount, are they giving you in installments? So retainer arrangement, retainer termination details, legal practitioner, any confidential information, because obviously the program that you're using will carry your client's information, which are more sensitive. So hence you have a kind of confidentiality with the client's information. Hence you get into an agreement giving out all of these information to the client, being very transparent, letting them know right at the time of retaining them that these are the risks associated with certain methods of communication, and these are the risks associated with providing certain client information, as you're going to be storing them in your own database. And how do you plan to do all of these is to be laid out on that one single piece of agreement, which is client intake, service, and communication. Now, here we have types of disbursements, billable, especially both for unit rate, mileages, travel time. Over here, we are going to talk about different types of disbursements as we progress into maintaining a file. So let's take a matter. And when you take a matter, first thing that comes to your mind is billing, right? Like once you've created the matter, the first thing that we all want to do is to bill them out. But in order to bill them out, you will have to record certain information such as the time that you have spent on the file, which is the docket. So some people have billable time versus some people have flat rate billing style. Some has contingency style if you're a SABS lawyer. Some have, it totally depends on whichever is your method of payment. Yeah, sorry, I by mistake went on mute. Yeah, so there are different types of disbursements where, when on one side there's billables, one side there's disbursements, and when you take disbursements, these are also billables, of course. One side there's work that you do for them, which is either flat rates or hourly rates are being billed for, and that is called as a legal fee. And the other side of it is the disbursements, which you get paid on behalf of them. So there's some kind of disturbance here at my end. Sorry, give me a moment, all of you. Hi all, I apologize. I need a couple minutes to get on back. Sorry about that. The recording is on and the live is on. Apologize. I just needed 2 minutes as I need to set back on my audio and I need to rejoin from the other system. Thank you. Please stay in tight and you don't have to leave the meeting. It's only the audio issue that I'm going to be rejoining. Thank you. Hi, is everyone able to hear me now? Does that sound better? Thank you for everything on the chat. I hope everyone is able to. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much. Is I'm just going to continue. Great, thank you. All right. So we were discussing about two types of billing, and one of them was either flat rate, and the other one was being billable time. When you take flat rate, you decide your flat rate amount, enter it in the docket, and then raise an invoice. While the other one carries your billable time, where you keep docketing as you progress with the file, and you add in all the documents, details, notes, everything that you want for that particular phone or meeting dockets, etc. And as you progress with the file, you might incur some disbursements like filing fee, application fee, code fee, printing, photocopies, whatnot. So as you progress, you would decide how would you want to enter these disbursements, whether you want to enter them as billable from paid from trust or general, or are these photocopies being entered as a unit rates, which is only mostly general, or are these any mileages, your travel time, again, only general. Anything actuals can go out of trust or can be recorded as if spent from trust. But anything that is not actual, that has a markup value, has to strictly go out or being recorded only from general. So that includes all your billables, unit rates, mileages. Unit rates includes photocopies, mileages, any consultancies that was outsourced with the profit margin. So these are all strictly only general. As you progress, you will be able to raise an invoice since you've added your billable time or flat rate with the disbursements, and that will in turn allow you to raise an invoice, present it to the client, and then if there is money sitting in your trust account, that would allow you to move money from trust to the general. This is called as trust transfer. And if you are in Ontario and you do this electronically, you are required to download something called as Form 9A. I will showcase you all of these when I am into uLaw, showing you how a matter management works. But in the meantime, let's say that you have updated everything, and this is called as matter status update. So once your matter status has been updated, once everything is done, your incoming, outgoing, into general, out of general, into trust, out of trust, everything respectively added. Then you update the status of the matter saying whether it's still active or it's closed or it's inactive. This is quite important so that when you are searching for a file information, you can filter out whether these are active files that you're looking at or inactive files you're looking at, or, a closed or inactive, both mean the same, or in an archive file. There are different types of status that you can give to a matter, and that would be your end step, of course, after providing them with a closing letter. So types of disbursements, yes, we have a separate CPD webinar called as Disbursement Demystified, which I recently did, maybe sometime beginning of this month or end of last month. And types of disbursements vary totally based on your practice type, right? Like a real estate lawyer would have certain types of disbursements, a family lawyer would have certain types of disbursements, a SABS lawyer would have a certain type of disbursement. So it's totally based out of your own type of practice, and it is important that you record them appropriately. So it is not only delivering the invoices to your clients, it is also about matter level accounting that will go into your accounting or rather into your books of accounts. While we also speak about matter management from the aspect of funds, like, incoming wire, outgoing wire, and all of those, it's also important for us to focus on compliance documents that Law Society has laid out. So every time you manage a matter, there are certain set of documents that you would have to produce, irrespective of whether that client, is being serviced for a quarter or, for a week or a few months. It totally depends. But as you progress into the file, there are a few things which are basic, few things which are advanced. Totally depends on the age of the matter. Now, the basic things like conflict check, client ID verification, retainer letter, engagement letter, non-engagement if they're ghost clients, and then invoices. These are all basic things. And advanced, which I would call it as, is as you keep progressing into the file or the matter. Let's say, for example, you have been servicing a client for more than a quarter. So there are some Law Society documents that Law Society says if you're servicing a client for more than a quarter, you need to update them as to statement of activity or settlement accounts, quarterly, yearly, based on their age of the matter. And this is to give them kind of a refresher to know what they had initially paid you, what has been billed out, what is the current balance, if they have anything in the trust, or if they owe you anything into the general account, which is called as outstanding. So all of these are, then shared in the statement of activity accounts, bill of cost, and, final settlement statement and more. And last but not the least, is your closure letter, which is, again, very important. Every time you move a file from active status to inactive or closed, simultaneously, I would recommend you to generate a closure letter. So, these are really important to close a file. And at the same time, when you give a closure letter to your client knows exactly as to what is the work that was done, and if there's anything pending from their end or your end. And lastly, it gives a sense of satisfaction to them, saying that, there's a nice level of closure that has come to an end, and a closure of the file that has come to an end, and you're able to also give them a feel as to what they can expect from you if they're coming back to you for another service. So not just from the aspect of a law society compliance, but also from a servicing standpoint, closure letter is, I would say, quite an important document as much as an engagement letter is, because closure letter gives a whole different aspect to the client, more like a wrapping up of the file. So those are some of these documents that are being shared whenever you have to service the client on the matter level. And when it comes to some of the other documents that you share with them on a regular basis, I would say that includes quarterly review of documents. You have to make sure that the matter has always remained open, and Law Society does an annual checkup where you need to make sure that the statement of accounts for those particular clients for whom you have files open for more than a quarter, you send them an annual document for all the trust and the general accounts. And as you progress with the documents, these include, of course, these are some list of documents that we recommend you to share with your client as you progress into the file or the matter. Invoice with clear information as to what was charged as a legal fee, if any disbursements, retainers, any payments, all of those on the invoice, very clear and detailed. And then quarterly updates to clients with a proper statement of activities and accounts. And also the bill of cost. They should basically show all the total cost of the matter so far that has the legal cost and disbursements, if any discounts apply. And any fee book, client fee book, and aging report. And statement of account, again, carries all the details of trust and general account with the balance, the transactions that happened in both trust and general respectively. And final statement of settlement and accounts also carries all activities, legal fees, disbursement charges, and discounts. Last but not the least is the final closure letter and other client details that needs to be enclosed in a matter. So make sure along with that, if you have to send them any season's greetings, to make sure that they are aware of your company brand, logo, anything that can go on it so that they can remember very well. And alongside with that, some of the additional parties that we also might carry in a matter, there could be a joint retainer, there could be plaintiff, defendant. Make sure that these contacts rather are entered based on the type or the group under contacts, and you manage them as a group of contacts, whether they are co-workers, vendors, plaintiff, defendants, joint retainers, opposing counsel, representative of opposing counsel, etc., representative of your opponent, which is the other party to the counsel. And you also manage the client relationships to make sure that all of these court forms are automated, because if you don't, now the automated court forms are part of matter management. And as part of matter management, you will need to make sure that these additional parties are marked appropriately in order to have a complete information being populated automatically onto your court forms. These court forms could be for small claims, family court, criminal, and other area of practices, but what is more important is if you need a complete form, you need to make sure to add in all the information of your client's additional parties respectively into the client relationships to the matter. Alongside with that, we have matter analytics, talking about any outstanding invoices, any comparison with that of client and matter for revenue and expenses, understanding all the timeline and status and trust in general accounting. So analytics, matter analytics, which is right there on the dashboard, or you can also go into the analytics and look into it respectively, where you can choose expenses by categories and matter book, fee book. While you choose different widgets here with different analytics that you want to look at, it is important that you generate certain things like the client and revenue and expenses, fee versus expense, client expense, pro bono if there was anything, just to understand where you stand as a firm and understand how these matters work, what is the timeline, how long has it been outstanding if there's anything, and then matter status and trust and general accounting too. So analytics help you visualize the data in the form of either pie chart, bar diagram, table, and so, which also includes, any of the insights that can be provided by us in format of paragraphs, question and answers, and more. So according to me, these analytics is not just for your, compliance part or to understand what is outstanding, what is the profit, but more like to judge your firm's health, how you're doing, what is your, strength, what is your weakness, basically to know the unknown so that you can plan for it and take action accordingly. So it is important to understand matter analytics. Many of the times we don't have the time, but if you find a weekend, even if it's bi-weekly, this is definitely one of the most important things that I would recommend you to do. Even though it's, part of compliance is a different thing, but also as part of reviewing your firm's health is another one. While there's everything is happening, and we could also understand how mobile app and mobile docketing works, because today everybody is on the go, on the fly, and recording details through phone is nothing like it. So docketing using phone, using telephone conversations, record options, and email conversations where you click on the email saying read or sent if your email is integrated to the program like uLaw, and you can easily add them as dockets and access client information and matter details on the go and understand what they owe you or what needs to be built out, what is pending, what is to be analyzed, and all of these being entered from time to time. While analyzing business insights, it is important for you to also add these dockets through mobile because it saves you a lot of time. I do encourage uLaw has mobile apps for both Android and iOS. I really encourage you all to download the mobile app where you can really do mobile docketing, take it to the next level, save a lot of time. For example, you have a contact from which your making a call to the client. And once you're done with the call, like you see here on the screenshots, okay, you have Adam Brown as a client, and then you call them. You have completed the call. Once you're done, the fourth screenshot here shares saying that, hey, you've had a call for about at this time and this date. Would you like to docket that? The moment you say yes, it goes in as a docket, and you just have to click on save. And then it goes on to your matter, where you can look at it from your browser too, which is on your desktop or your computer or laptop, whatever is your device. And then you can also monitor it from your phone. So it becomes 2-in-1. Likewise, for mobile insights, you don't have the time to sit in front of the system. Never mind. Open your mobile app for uLaw. Click on Analytics. Just simply browse through or skim through and play around with the different types of analytics, including fee book, expense book, matter invoices that are pending, what are your client outstanding, everything. So end to end, you get an idea as to what are the outstanding and what needs to be done further. While you are at it, which is also one of the benefits of using a legal accounting and practice management software, that you're able to practice from anywhere, right? By cloud technology, also being able to access all your files when not in office and on any device, which includes your mobile app. And more efficient and less cost, because less overheads, reduces your overheads overall in managing your practice if you are able to manage them more efficiently. And most of all is society complaint. Practice management system like uLaw provides all the documents that you need right from the beginning to the end. That also includes accounting and code forms and compliance documents. That with your client billing, which is your invoices, receipts, engagement letters, retainer letters, client intake forms, end to end, all of it. So it is important that you go over all of these. If you have uLaw program, it's great, right? But putting it to the best use, I would honestly suggest you to go over these compliance tabs and document generation tabs, especially under matter, that will allow you to generate all those documents that we have discussed to keep your files organized, managed well, and ensuring all the statuses are updated, including your docketing, invoicing, and disbursement management. While we discussed all of this on our presentation, I would like to take you all to our, uLawPractice playground account to showcase all of you how a matter management can work well when you are using uLaw. So right in front of you is my playground account. While I have a contact, you can determine how you plan to intake a client, either by clicking on document generation, downloading a client intake form, emailing it to them manually, like from your email ID, or you're using client portal to enter your client's email ID and a secret key, generate a link, and once the link is generated, it is automatically sent out of uLaw directly to your client. So you are not anywhere in the picture. Once you generate the link, the client automatically receives the link from the uLaw program, and then you can, your client will receive the link and they can enter all the information. And once the information is entered, you can take appropriate steps. While you are here, let me quickly add a new client to show you all one file. Okay. So I'll give most of things that needs to be entered has to be entered into the respective columns or fields. So these basic information could be time consuming sometimes. That's why we really recommend you to use, the client intake using client portal, because your client information is entered better when they enter it directly than you entering it on behalf of them. All right, so this is the client whom we have added. First thing you would do as per the conflict, as per the Law Society compliances, is conflict check. Make sure there's no conflict, and then move on. All right, so that is the conflict check. So we have a few conflicts, but I don't think we have exact conflict. So I don't see the name here, James King. So you go back in there, you create a file, then which is part of the matter management. Okay, your hourly rates are entered here and save it. So this will give you a secured file numbering system, and everything is electronic. And once you have the file, the first thing you want to do is click on compliance and find out where the checklist is. So please open the checklist and make sure you go through the checklist and continue adding all the documents that you need to one by one. Like, have you got the client information and who are the other parties? So that would help you to add in the additional parties, opposing counsel if you need to anything, and other file managements that you need to be aware of. So once all of these are done, then you can kickstart with retainer letter, ask them for a small retainer if you plan to, if you have a trust. If not, you can ignore this step, and then you can continue with docketing. Okay? While that happens, simultaneously, you have received a retainer. So you click on new retainer, or you click on trust, because retainer is received in trust and it comes under deposit. So you can click on that as well and add in the retainer amount, the method of payment, reference numbers. Reference number important. uLaw does not allow you to proceed otherwise. Of course, you can give any if you don't have a number, and you can always say, put in an explanation beside that. Click generate the receipt and click apply. Once you do that, this is again part of matter management that says that moment you receive a payment into the trust, please generate the receipt, provide it to the client with all the information on it. Okay, and over here we have the docketing that says met with the client, so client meeting that happened for about an hour, and you want to charge them maybe for the first 30 minutes goes free, and then you want to charge them for only 30 minutes after that. See, let's say you had another thing where you want to charge them a legal fee, and this time it took you about 3 hours, but you're doing a flat rate of $250. Of course, in the description box, you can say legal fee, filing an application, filler, and filing, clearing an application. I would pay the description. Click on save. So you have two different types of dockets here, and then you have your retainer here. Now you want to add a disbursement. So under add new disbursement, if it was paid from trust, since you have money in trust, let's say this is actual. So you can just say, was it a bank draft or a check? And then say it was filing fee, paid to courthouse, print a check if it's a check, and then save it. While that happens, you quickly see all the dockets entered. Disbursement from trust entered. Now disbursement was made from general because it has a markup value. So you're saying pay disbursements from general, maybe this was something to do with printing or photocopies or courier. So you are charging your client $20 plus taxes, but you didn't spend anything on it because you used your office printer. So you leave the bottom portion empty without reporting any expenses and save it. Once you have added in the disbursement, then you could go ahead and raise an invoice and transfer the money from trust to the general, as well as if there's any outstanding, get paid into the general account. All right, so this is the invoice. Has your dockets on the first page. And then we have the disbursements and retainer and other billable items totaling out to what is someone due. All right, so we have the balance outstanding. So when you go back into uLaw, you click on question mark, gives you matter analytics. Shows you readily what is available for transfer. Even though you got a $500 retainer, right now we have only $300 available in the trust. So you can go through because $200 is already taken out of the trust account for filing fee. Hence, you're transferring only the $300 that's remaining in the trust, and rest are being paid into the general account. Choosing the method of payment, the reference numbers, download a Form 90. If, as mentioned, if you're in Ontario and if you're doing a electronic fund transfer, you're required to maintain Form 90. That is an electronic trust transfer acquisition form. Has all the details. So uLaw can populate this automatically if you have the right account numbers already entered into the respective bank accounts from the accounts. And there you go. Form 90 is ready without much to do. And with all the details as to what is the reason, the financial institution details. So it's complete overall. When you go back in the matter, what is remaining to do is to get the outstanding from the client, 89.85, that shows us the projected balance. I don't generally just go by what is projected here. I also prefer to look into the general or the trust tab respectively to see what is the actual balance that they owe. So if it matches, great. Sometimes because it's projection, just don't go by the projection. Go into the respective tabs, either it is trust or general, to see what is available in the trust and what needs to be paid into the general by the client. We click on question mark, get the payment into the general account. Again, whatever was the method of payment, follow that. Always follow your bank. So there is no way you can make an error. And again, follow uLaw, give them a receipt. There's no way you can make an error if you're following uLaw as well, because you're 100% Law Society compliant. Right over here is the payment receipt for the remaining 89.85. So we generated so far conflict check, file opening checklist, retainer engagement letter, and then we have the retainer receipt, and then we have the invoice, and then we have the Form 9A for the trust transfer, and finally the receipt for balance that was paid into the general account. When you go back into uLaw now, what is pending here? Nothing. Client owes nothing. And you're looking at the general, if all the invoice was paid, everything great. So this is the time you can click on compliance and make sure if it's something that was going on for more than a quarter, download all the quarterly documents, give it to the client, settlement plus account, summary, and then download a closing letter, send it to the client, and also, most importantly, mark as closed in this particular file so that, when you can come back to quick view and look for your closed files, this will be on the top Jane scheme, which was created today. Do you all see? First line item. So this is a life cycle of a matter management, a successful matter management. Now, like I said, there can be differences between one practice type to another one. Somebody would do contingency billing, and was this a real estate file, was this a family criminal. Now, each of them have to follow their method of accounting and bookkeeping, while, in the matter that would reflect into your accounts, which is then when you click on monthly compliances, reconciliations will automatically pop up where you have to complete the reconciliations. And then, maybe other documents like ledgers, journals, fee books, intermatter transfers, everything being entered respectively into the documents. And, you just have to download them, put it into your file, whether it's physical or electronic. Electronic is a really good option. Save space. At the same time, you're able to see it from anywhere. All right, so I think we are almost to the end of the webinar. I'd like to show you just one document here that would allow you all to see if there were any client trust receipts, and then that's a journal, all the receipt or money that came into the trust. So that was the retainer that came in with the method of payment. What I really like about uLaw here is capturing all the details and transferring it into the respective documents allows you to enter all the information. Source of funds, matter details, file numbers. Some of them are automatically showing up here because they was created. Some of them are, later on entered by you and showing up here too. All right. Thank you once again, everyone, for attending today's webinar. I welcome any questions from all of you over here on the chat window. I'm also going to share the attendance link and topic for today's session. And most importantly, about the annual report filing, we have a live Q&A happening next week. I'm going to open a poll here. So I would request, I know there are more than 35 of you here to today's call. I would request each of you to first give your attendance, make a note of the topic, and then please make sure to give the poll as well. Thank you so much, everyone. Once again, yes, this is 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits. uLaw, we don't do substantive CPD credits. We do only professionalism. So the topic for today's session is Matter Management 101. It's available for 1 hour of professionalism CPD credits, and I am sharing the link. And please stay back to give your poll for the live Q&A. What time? I'm going to pick up one of the maximum of all. Okay, but of course, the majority of all is what we're going to pick. Because we have another CPD. This is a hat-trick CPD month. Okay, so we have the next 2 Fridays are CPD, and honestly, we didn't want to burden you all with a 2-hour session on the same day because everything is going to go over the head. Also considering Friday afternoon and everything. So we were wondering some other day, like a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Tuesday, whichever one is non-code days, or during your lunch hours, maybe a half an hour or 1 hour would be great. So let me quickly share the poll here for you all. While you all have any questions, I'll be happy to start taking them. And once again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining today's call. Okay, here's the link for sharing your poll. Please, is this session also being added to YouTube? Yes, it will be added as early as Monday. So please click on the link and you will be able to see you can give your availability for live Q&A. This is a very interesting one. We will do a live with we'll try to have our video on, and we can keep it very interactive. I will be taking questions as well as sharing details of Law Society bookkeeping compliances, which is also a CPD session, which I will be doing on Friday, but I will try to share the gist of compliance documents that will help you all to prepare your annual report. And at the same time, you can also understand, what is your availability. We can also understand your availability to do the session. Thank you. We want most of you to benefit from this, so please do not hesitate to enter your poll and submit them so that we can look into it and schedule the session live Q&A for next week. In the meantime, I'm taking questions here on the chat window for today's session. If anybody has any questions, please do enter it on the chat window. I would love to answer them. And I hope everybody got the attendance link and the topic for today's session. Also, the link for giving your availability on the poll. If you have any further questions or queries, please do enter it on the chat at any time. I'll be available for the next 10 minutes so we can all try to benefit out of the session. Once again, I thank you all for joining today's session. And please remember the next 2 Fridays are also CPD sessions. And we're trying to do one live Q&A other than that, excluding that rather, which is why I have shared a link for you all to give me your availability so we could, try to see what day really works well for all of you. Once again, thank you everyone and have a wonderful weekend. Even though I'm going to hang in here for another 10 minutes, I'd like to stop the recording so it's available for everybody to view it on our YouTube platform. Thank you.